overboard missing mom Lynette Hooker's search has expanded. No longer in the water only, now expanding to a land search, torpedoing the story her husband gave when she went missing, claiming she bounced off the dinghy.
The disappearing of Lynette Hooker on the water in the Bahamas. Her husband says she fell overboard from a small dinghy on the night of April 4th. He says the current took her. He says he never made it back to their sailboat. That is the only account investigators have ever been given. One man, one story. No other witnesses. But here is the problem. Lynette Hooker's Apple Watch ended up back on that sailboat. The same sailboat her husband says neither of them ever returned to that night. And that boat had a Starlink satellite internet connection running through the night. The kind of system that logs every device that connects to it automatically with a timestamp without asking anyone's permission. Today we are going to go through this case from the beginning, the timeline, the inconsistencies in Brian Hooker's account, the physical evidence that does not line up with his story, and the reason two separate criminal investigations, one of them federal, are still open on this case right now. Stay with this until the end, because the most important detail in this case is not what Brian Hooker said, it is what a machine quietly recorded while he was saying it. Lynette Hooker was 55 years old, and she lived on the water. She and her husband Brian Hooker had been sailing together for over a decade. They bought a 4-6-foot sailboat in Texas, named it the Soulmate, and sailed it all the way down to the Caribbean. That boat was not a vacation home. It was their full-time home. Lynette's daughter, Carly Ellsworth, describes her mother as a strong swimmer who grew up near lakes in Michigan. Someone who had navigated those waters with confidence for years and had been living aboard a boat long enough to know exactly what she was doing out there. By early 2025, there were documented signs the relationship between Lynette and Brian was under serious strain. Text messages Lynette sent to a close friend in January 2025, obtained by CBS News, showed the couple had separated. She wrote that she was done and was not going back. By late February, those same messages to the same friend showed they had reconciled. Then, approximately 1 month before April 4th, Lynette purchased a one-way plane ticket home to the United States. She was planning to leave Brian. That ticket was never used. Lynette's mother, Darlene Hamlet, gave journalist Ashley Banfield an exclusive interview during Banfield's 5 days of on-the-ground reporting at Elbow Cay. She said she had been preparing for the call she eventually received for a long time. She described Brian as mean and physical when he drank. She said Lynette had photographed her own injuries and kept those photographs as reminders to herself not to go back to him. She went back anyway. On the evening of April 4th, Brian Hooker called Lynette's daughter Carly between 8 and 8:30 at night. Carly told CNN that the tone was monotone and matter-of-fact. He said her mother was missing, that she had been missing since the night before. He said they would come to see Carly soon. The call ended. We ask Allah to have mercy on Lynette Hooker, to grant her family patience, clarity, and the truth of what happened to her. According to Brian Hooker, the evening of April 4th began at the Abaco Inn on Elbow Cay, where he and Lynette spent the afternoon. He told investigators, and confirmed in a recorded phone call later obtained by CBS News, that the two of them departed the Hopetown area aboard a small 8-foot hard-bottom dinghy at approximately 7:30 inches the evening. Their stated destination was the Soulmate. Their sailboat anchored off Elbow Cay. He says conditions deteriorated on the crossing, winds around 20 knots. Choppy water, and then, in his own words from that recorded call, she basically just bounced off the dinghy in the middle of a little blow. He told investigators that Lynette was wearing the engine safety lanyard, the cord designed to cut the motor if the operator goes overboard. When she hit the water, the engine died. The current separated them almost immediately. Darkness fell within 10 minutes. He lost visual contact with her. He says he paddled alone with one oar through the Sea of Abaco for approximately 7 hours. At around 4:00 inches the morning on April 5th, the dinghy drifted into the Marsh Harbor boatyard. He told someone there that his wife was missing. That person called police. The search began. That is the account. One person gave it. No one else was on that water with them. And from the moment that account was given, it began to develop problems. The first inconsistency is the departure timeline, and it comes from verified footage reviewed by Carly Ellsworth. Ashley Banfield, a journalist who spent 5 days on the ground at Elbow Cay conducting original reporting, confirmed through her Drop Dead Serious podcast that footage from the Abaco Inn area places Brian and Lynette leaving and heading toward the water at approximately 6:40 inches the evening. Brian told police the departure was at 7:30. That is nearly a full hour of difference. Here is why that hour matters. Brian's entire account is framed around darkness. He told a friend in that recorded call, "We stayed at the bar too long. We left too dark. All kinds of stuff. No life jackets." But at 6:40 inches the evening in the Abaco Islands in early April, the sun has not yet set. Sunset in that region falls closer to 7:30 to 7:45. A source who spoke to Banfield on her podcast addressed this directly. The first version of events was leaving at dusk, going to dark. The 6:40 timestamp makes it from daylight going to dusk. And that, he said, is a completely different equation. Some of the things in this story, he added, just do not hold up. Then there is what Lynette was wearing. Banfield obtained a photograph taken at the Abaco Inn at approximately 4:30 inches the afternoon on April 4th. It is the last confirmed photograph of Lynette alive. She is sitting poolside in a green bathing suit cover-up, and she is wearing her Apple Watch on her wrist. When Lynette was reported missing, Brian described his wife to the people organizing the search. According to reporting confirmed by Banfield, he did not mention the green cover-up she was wearing in that photograph. A search and rescue volunteer flagged this specifically. When someone is missing in open water, you describe exactly what they were wearing. Every detail helps searchers identify what they are looking for. That detail was absent from what Brian provided. The bartender at the Abaco Inn, identified as Ken, told the New York Post that the timeline does not make sense to someone who knows that waterway. They left around 7:30, he said, and whatever supposedly happened occurred right after. But Brian did not reach Marsh Harbor until 4:00 inches the morning. His specific point: it is only 4 miles. Even if the dinghy was only floating, it should have been a much quicker crossing. Ken also noted something else worth flagging. In the approximately 2.5 hours the couple spent at the Abaco Inn that evening, he never actually saw Lynette himself. He served Brian. He interacted with Brian. He did not see or speak with Lynette directly. Before we move into the physical evidence, I want you to hear Brian Hooker himself. This is audio obtained by TMZ. Brian is speaking to another boater in the days after Lynette disappeared. He does not know the conversation is being recorded. Listen to what he says and pay attention to how he says it.
When we brought Lynette over the side, I paddled over to Marsh Island and I landed on some crazy shore there and we couldn't get yesterday. The fire department bringing the dinghy to. You guys gonna be around at all?
Yeah, we'll be around if you need anything.
I'm gonna ask the guys, but I might need one person to help me unanchor. I've never done it by myself. I don't have any switches to talk to.
Okay. Well, so sorry.
I gotta get out and I can't leave here without a foot of water under me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's been a long time. I don't think I've ever been apart from her in 25 years. For this long.
This audio was recorded on April 6th, 2 days after Lynette disappeared. He is not out searching. He is anchored at the dock. He says he cannot unanchor by himself. He is waiting for someone to come help him move the boat. His wife of 25 years has been missing for 48 hours, and he is calmly problem-solving how to leave the slip. That tone-controlled, matter-of-fact, no urgency was consistent across every account that people close to Lynette heard from him. Carly described the phone call she received as sounding like he dropped a bomb, and then talked through it like nothing significant had happened. This recording was the same. Brian Hooker told investigators that Lynette fell overboard and the current took her across the Sea of Abaco. Investigators, based on sources confirmed in reporting, do not appear to accept that account. Both the Royal Bahamas Police Force and the United States Coast Guard shifted their primary search from the water to the land. Sources indicated that authorities did not believe Lynette Hooker was in the Sea of Abaco. The reason is significant. The Sea of Abaco at that location reaches a maximum depth of approximately 15 feet. The water is clear. Aerial searches were conducted in the early days of the investigation. Extensive dive searches followed. Cadaver dogs capable of detecting remains through over 30 feet of water were deployed. No body was recovered from the water. The land search extended beyond areas where a body might simply have washed ashore. Canine units searched the shoreline and then moved further into Elbow Cay and the surrounding area. Then there is the flotation device. Brian left Carly a voicemail, shared with CNN, saying that Hopetown Search and Rescue had found the flotation device he said he threw to Lynette when she went overboard. The device was recovered floating in open water. Without Lynette, Former FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffin Dafford pointed out the problem to Newsweek. If Lynette caught a flotation device Brian threw, the crisis ends. She stays afloat. The device was recovered alone. That either means she never caught it, or something happened before she could. Carly also raised a question about the engine kill lanyard. Brian was typically the one who drove the dinghy. If he was the operator, the lanyard would logically be attached to him. Why Lynette was wearing it that evening has never been publicly explained. Now, directly from Lynette's daughter.
So give me your thoughts now that you've arrived here at the Elbow Cay Inn.
I'm happy to get some answers and I'm glad to see some video of my mom, her last moments. I just got to see her at the bar and walking down to the water, but that's about it.
Do you have a greater sense of the lay of the land now that you've had a chance to walk around this area where they may have parked their dinghy right here, right over there? Do you get a better feel for everything now that you're here?
Yeah, I got to go on a boat ride and retrace their steps basically and see the bar that they were at before Elbow Cay Inn and ask questions there. Basically, the water, it was high tide, but it seemed like the water was shallow enough where they could at least like touch it sometimes. So that's where I'm confused on why he didn't jump in, because he's pretty tall.
Carly retraced the steps from April 4th herself after arriving in the Bahamas. She wrote on the GoFundMe page for her mother's search. I retraced their steps from that day and it just makes the story sound more sketchy to me. A retired United States Coast Guard captain who spoke with Banfield also identified navigational problems with Brian's account. The direction the dinghy traveled, based on where it ended up at Marsh Harbor, does not track cleanly toward the Soulmate's anchored position. Brian says he was heading toward the boat when Lynette went overboard. The dinghy ended up 4 miles in the other direction. That physical inconsistency has never been publicly resolved. Everything in the previous sections is significant. The timeline gap, the missing outfit description, the navigational inconsistency, the flotation device recovered alone, the search that moved from water to land. Each of those is a documented problem for Brian's account. But none of them are as precise as what we are about to discuss, because what comes next does not depend on anyone's memory, anyone's testimony, or anyone's version of events. It depends on what machines recorded automatically while everything else was unfolding. Go back to that poolside photograph from 4:30 inches the afternoon on April 4th. The last confirmed photograph of Lynette alive. She is wearing her Apple Watch. Carly confirmed to Banfield directly that the watch was actively paired to Lynette's iPhone through Apple's Find My network. Carly described it as something her mother used constantly. It was a daily part of how Lynette operated her devices. After Lynette disappeared, that same watch was found on the Soulmate. The sailboat Brian said neither of them ever returned to that night. Those two facts do not coexist without an explanation. Either someone brought that watch to the boat, or it got there through some mechanism that has never been publicly described. Here is what Apple's Find My network actually does. It is not something a user activates when they want to share their location. It is a continuous automated connection between a paired Apple Watch and its iPhone. The watch communicates with the phone on a regular cycle throughout the day. When the paired iPhone has any form of internet connectivity, cellular, Wi-Fi, or satellite, that location and activity data uploads to Apple's iCloud servers automatically with a timestamp. No button is pressed. No action is required. The data flows because that is what the system was built to do. Apple Watch devices also record biometric data continuously. Heart rate readings at regular intervals. Movement records from the accelerometer. Step counts, activity tracking, all of it timestamped locally on the device. When the paired iPhone connects to the internet, that data syncs to Apple's iCloud servers automatically, creating a permanent off-device record accessible to law enforcement through appropriate legal process. Now add the Soulmate Starlink. Banfield confirmed during her on-the-ground reporting at Elbow Cay that the Soulmate was equipped with Starlink, SpaceX's satellite broadband service. For sailors in the Bahamas, Starlink is not a convenience. It is the internet. It runs continuously on a powered boat. It was how the couple stayed connected to the world. And it is the network to which every device aboard the Soulmate would have previously connected, including Lynette's iPhone, which she regularly brought back to the boat to recharge. Here is how iPhones behave around a known network. The first time any iPhone connects to a network, the user authenticates manually. Every time after that, within range, the phone connects on its own. No screen unlock, no conscious choice. The device finds the familiar network, authenticates, and the terminal logs the event automatically. Device identifier, Timestamp, connection data. That log entry is generated before the user is even aware the connection has been made. Lynette's iPhone had connected to the Soulmate Starlink terminal many times before April 4th. The credentials were stored. The recognition was automatic. If Lynette's iPhone or Apple Watch came within range of the Soulmate Starlink signal on the night of April 4th, the connection happened. The terminal logged it. Apple's servers received whatever synced through that connection. The timestamp was created permanently, without anyone making a decision and without anyone needing to know it was happening. Banfield stated it plainly after 5 days of on-the-ground investigation. If Lynette's device made it back to the Soulmate, game over. That is a forensic inference, not a conclusion. She is not claiming to know what the log shows. She is applying logic to confirmed facts. If that connection log places Lynette's phone near the Soulmate after the moment Brian says she was already in the water, his account is not disputed by a competing story. It is contradicted by a machine record that was not created by any person and has no stake in how this resolves. On April 8th, Bahamian authorities executed a search warrant on the Soulmate. CBS News obtained and reviewed that warrant. The items authorized for seizure included a digital video recorder, digital tablets, and cell phone-related equipment and accessories. The stated basis: those items were material evidence related to a missing person causing bodily harm. A judge agreed there was probable cause. Officers boarded the Soulmate and removed the digital equipment. That same day, Brian Hooker was taken into custody. Royal Bahamas Police Force Assistant Commissioner Eduardo Dams confirmed he was detained based on probable cause and described him as a suspect. During 5 days in detention, investigators questioned him about a potential charge of causing harm resulting in death. His attorney confirmed this to Fox News Digital. He was released on April 13th after the Department of Public Prosecutions reviewed the case and recommended no charges be filed at that time, pending further investigation. The active criminal case remains open. One day after that search warrant, on April 9th, the United States Coast Guard formally opened their own criminal investigation. Not a search and rescue file, not a boating accident review. A federal criminal investigation. Federal maritime law gives the Coast Guard jurisdiction over American nationals involved in serious incidents on the water. Their criminal investigation means full federal authority, including the legal tools to compel records from American technology companies for device and account data tied to the case. 2 active criminal investigations. 2 jurisdictions. 2 separate agencies, each with authority to reach the digital evidence tied to the Soulmate, to Lynette's devices, and to Brian Hooker's own search and message history on the seized devices. Brian left the Bahamas after his release. He gave interviews to NBC, CBS, and ABC. He told NBC he would never harm his wife.
I don't think I've ever been apart from her in 25 years for this long.
He told ABC that his one job was to look out for her, and that he was going to keep looking. Royal Bahamas Police Commissioner Shanta Knowles confirmed that despite his release, Brian Hooker remains a suspect in the ongoing investigation. Brian Hooker has not been charged with any crime. He categorically and unequivocally denies any wrongdoing. He denies causing Lynette's death. Those statements are on the record. So is the warrant. So are the 2 open criminal files. And so is whatever the Soulmate Starlink terminal logged on the night of April 4th. Lynette Hooker has not been found. Her daughter Carly flew to the Bahamas, was met by police at the airport, boarded the Soulmate, and brought home what she could. The necklace with the letter L her mother always wore, a headband, a picture frame she had made for her, something her grandmother had sewn. She brought them back to Massachusetts. The digital devices seized from the Soulmate are now with investigators. The Apple Watch data, the Starlink connection logs, whatever search history and message records exist on the devices removed under that warrant. None of those records require a body to be valid. None of them revise their timestamps after the fact. None of them can be cross-examined. The question for this investigation is not whether the technology created a record. It did. The question is what that record shows and when investigators choose to act on it. Here is what I want to know from you. Given everything in this case, the timeline discrepancy, the watch on the boat, the search that moved from water to land, the federal investigation, where do you think this goes from here? Leave your answer in the comments below. If you are not subscribed yet, this is the time. This case is not finished. When the next development comes, this channel is where the coverage will be. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss it. May Allah grant justice to Lynette Hooker, and peace to every person who loves her.